Good afternoon and welcome to this very special walk today. Thank you for being here. This walk I'm going to cover some information, some history of Aruba, some interesting parts that I believe I have not covered yet in all of my videos. So stick around till the end and learn a little bit about Aruba and its very interesting history. I'll probably be missing some information, and this will be somewhat of a slower walk where I'll be stopping and talking about certain things that happened in the past. Now I am here at the Franse Pas, the Frenchman's Pass, as we call it here, the Franse Pas. And this is also the road that you can take to the donkey sanctuary. So if you are looking for that, that's where you could head to it. There is a water tank up there, and what we start to see over here, all of this is the Frenchman's Pass. By the way, some pretty cool, pretty neat cactus, flower, and some aloe with larger cactus. So everything you see here is part of the Frenchman's Pass or Franse Pas. And in Papiamento, in our local language, we would call it like Roy Francis. And interesting looking tree, by the way. So let's see. So I did some research, even though I do know part of the story, but I did some extra research. And as I said, I'll probably forget some information. I'll probably have a few things that are not entirely right, but I will try to stay focused and talk a little bit about this Frenchman's Pass. Now it's a little bit difficult walking here because from this road, so if you are coming on this side, you would be heading from Santa Cruz, the district of Santa Cruz, and heading over there, you'll be heading to the district of Post Chiquito. Now the history of the Franse Pas goes that the French in the 17th century, they tried to like invade Aruba, and there were some Indians still living here, some local Indians, and excuse the car noise, the traffic noise. And so they tried to invade Aruba, and they ran up to the Indians, and it is said that it was here somewhere that the Indians decided to go hide from them, and apparently they went up there. Maybe we will get a chance to get a brief look over there. That they went to hide in some caves, and the Frenchmen, instead of like fighting them or getting them out of there, they decided to light a fire at the what do you call it, at the entrance of the cave, or the small cave, and then the Indians apparently died from that. And that's where the legendary story started, that this Franse Pas is like spooked. So it does have its origins of being spooky, a spooky place, especially at night. When we drive by here, it's very, very dark. There are no lights, no street lights here. And just the place in general looks a little bit spooky. And there has been like probably hundreds of stories of people that can swear that, when they pass here, things happen, weird things happen and such. So let me take a brief look here. I haven't explored this area much myself in the past, I have to be honest. And so it is fairly dense. You know, as you can see, like you could not probably like easily go up there unless you're a goat, and they are very agile in doing that. But yeah, just to give you an impression of like all of this part. Now that story is like a legend. It's not confirmed. It's something that's been talked about, and like they'll probably never really know what happened here for sure. But that's the popular story that we have here in Aruba. You know, talking about the Franse Pas. Some pretty interesting cactus growing just on the rocks. And worth noting, a couple of years ago, these trees were all over the road, so it was a part of like Aruba where, you know, you could, how would I say it? So it was covered by the trees, and some public workers decided to cut off the trees, and people were mad for weeks and probably even months, and even today when I'm talking about this, they're probably still mad about it because it looked so beautiful, and it's the only part of Aruba that you can really have that. So cross like a street where it was completely covered by trees. I am noticing some nests, and I'm noticing some bees, I think, around me or something. Oh, it's these guys. Anyway, I am noticing some nests up there. I'm not entirely sure of which birds, but I have seen the popular wara, which is like a falcon here on the island, a popular falcon. As you can see, it's a beautiful area. It's just that it has cars passing by. And I'm gonna try to get on this side briefly. Hopefully no cars will be driving by too fast. I want to go on this side briefly so I can show you up there. So potentially that's where somewhere they probably the Indians went to hide up there somewhere, and it goes, so it continues all the way where we started, which is like over there, right? And you could see like potentially there could be like some either large caves or maybe some smaller caves. We don't know. I've never been up there, but worth noting. I'm trying to get on this side. I do hear a car coming. Probably everybody's like, what are you doing walking there? Because mostly nobody walks there. But as you notice, these are black. So if you can see that black part of it, and over here also, I mean, that's about, what is it, like probably like 300 years or so, more or less. But nonetheless, it is possible that was of the effect of the fire that was lit, potentially. And I'm just assuming here by myself that potentially it was that they probably lit up this whole place, and it was a big smoke instead of a small fire. This was a big smoke. A big fire instead of a small fire. So maybe it was a time where it was very dry here, and maybe it was all of the, all of the smoke that probably potentially killed either all or most of the Indians, right? So I believe in English they say take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, it's never been confirmed, probably never will be, but it certainly is one of those spooky stories of Aruba. And we are heading now to the Balashi Gold Mill ruins. And this is also an important part of this walk today. And recently I just realized that a lot of people come to Aruba and I'm not talking about the guys that come here for like maybe the first time, maybe the first 2 or 3 times, but some people come here and for years they don't wander off the hotels, so they stay in that area, which is, hey, it's cool, it's fine. Beaches are great, the resorts and everything, but there's a lot more to see, to cover here. And the more I dig into the history of Aruba, which I do know a lot of it, but I come to realize that I still know like maybe 1%, maybe, of everything. So I get excited. I've always loved history, so I get excited when I read news stories or stories that you know part of it and then you get extra information. That's pretty cool. And this one is certainly one of them, that in the year 1824, a young guy named Willem Rasmain. What's that name? Was it that name? Let me see if I have the information here somewhere. I don't want to be wrong with the, let's see, Willem Rasmain. Yes, in 1824, he found some, wandering off in somewhere in the back of Aruba, like we call it, like the north side of the island. So he found a piece of gold, and he took it home, of course. His father saw it, and part of the story goes also, like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but supposedly, by the way, I love up there, the Franse Pas is really a nice place with potentially a sad story, sad ending. But this guy took the, how do you call it, the piece of gold home, father side. Big news, of course, even in those times, of definitely still big news. And supposedly they kept it quiet for a bit, and it was until they, how you call it? So like the father started drinking supposedly, and at a party, he said, "Oh, we found gold," and that's where the Aruban gold rush started for like 5 years, where probably everybody stopped doing whatever else they were doing, and it wasn't the Aruba you see today, but yeah, they probably stopped fishing, they stopped agriculture and everything else just to go look for more gold, right? And I mean, making the story a little bit long, there's an airplane going. This one's probably going to Curacao. That's the DV. I don't know if you guys can clearly see it. That's the DV Airlines. And that one is pretty interesting. It's got an iguana on top of it, like painted on top of it, sprayed. This is the Balashi Gold Mill ruins. And let me start off by saying that that building up there was not part of the original building. But I'll explain a little bit more about that in a bit. Now, this is a pretty interesting cactus. You do find them here in the wild here in Aruba, but they're not very common. They're not very common. So whenever you see one, it's pretty nice, and this one's certainly quite big. And we were back there. So the Franse Pas is back there and such. Now this is part of the national park also now. And so it's protected. And no entrance fee is needed. In case you're wondering, sometimes you guys do have those questions about them. But no entrance. And yeah, this one, let me see, let's, how should we tackle this one first? Let's probably let's probably go up first and then we'll come back down. And worth noticing, let me see if I can show you guys something before we continue up. I do not know all of the details of this, but I do know one thing, that when you see this, like at a building, Monumento Proteja, that's when it is a monument, and so it is protected, it's being protected, and that they cannot continue building here. But that's more like a somewhat recent thing, if you will, because in the past that building up there was supposed to be part of a project, and it was supposed to be like, I do have a plan of it. Let me see if I can pull up a photo. And most of these stairs were built and these steps were rebuilt. So money was put into this project, and I'm talking about I believe it was either the mid-1980s or so. Let me see if I can pull up the, oh, there's another plane. It's probably the Avianca heading to Bogota, Colombia. So, I don't know how well or not you guys are going to be able to see it, but what you see here is this building. So it was supposed to be like, supposedly to have a swimming pool and a sitting area here, and probably some places for, like, what would it be, like for concert or something like that. And right now it just was abandoned. The project was never completed, and so right now it's just a graffiti place mostly. Let's see. I always get tired when I vlog and walk, because you're talking, right? When you're talking, you, instead of inhaling, you're exhaling, and yeah. So these were done by a friend of mine. This one also. And I believe that one back there, like the Mona Lisa, I do believe he made those, I believe. I'm not sure. So I did do a video with him a while back. Wanted to go on this side first. As you can imagine, it's extremely windy up here. So the Franse Pas again is over there. And we have like a wide panoramic view of this place. I did put my microphone today underneath my shirt, so hopefully it helps just a little bit extra, hopefully. You can see the Yamanota way back there, and there seems to be like some construction or some replacement of the antenna up there. Wow, it's windy. And I did meet some folks last night from Chicago, and Chicago, as you might know, is known to be the windy city. And they told me like Chicago's not the windy city anymore. Aruba's the windy city, the windy country, windy island, because it's a lot more windy than where they live. And I just want to say hi to them in case they are watching this one. It was so nice meeting you, and as it has been meeting many of you now on the streets whenever I'm walking, especially near the hotels. It's you know, a lot of you come and introduce yourself to me, and I find that so nice. Now, so let's see. So this is the back part of the gold mill, and I could not necessarily tell you what all of these things are, but it looks like, you know, like a gold mill, and some folks confuse the gold mill with the gold mine, and this one is not a gold mine, it's a gold mill. What's the difference? Well, here is where all the gold was brought, and wow, the audio must be horrible. So it was processed. This is where they extract the gold from the stones with some process. Let me do something here first. Let me give you guys a view from here somewhere, and then we'll head down, which is a lot less windy. So yeah, let's continue on this side. Now, take good notice of this, and this one especially. I'm going to show you some more photos in a bit, but they are and will be related. Now, we are in the time of year where, how do you call it, like Aruba's extra windy. So they say like January to maybe more or less April, it gets really windy, and what we call the Easter week, which usually falls like either the end of March or sometime in April, that's when it gets super windy. So over here there was a big wheel to produce electricity, from what I read, and this, all of it, like in here there was is it the word cyanide, I think, and that's something they discovered later on, because the process of extracting the gold and just, you know, like taking it just in general, wow, okay, it was, you know, in the beginning it was still very primitive, even in the 1800s. And then later on they found more and more ways to do it, better ways to do it. And that's when, you know, it started getting more and more interesting. I find it, on a very personal note, I find it very, very sad that this place has not been restored in the past, because I do believe that it is like, it should be, you know, like it is certainly part of our history. And yes, this one is a little bit controversial too, because, you know, some locals feel like, oh, that gold belonged to us and it was taken away, and like, yeah, we could have been like rich. And I have my opinion. I'm not going to get into any controversial things, but just in general, I think that it is what it is. It's just history, and we'll tell it like it is, and not get into too many of these details surrounding it. But more or less, some companies. So this is the gold mill. We had another one. You might know, you might remember if you've been following me a little bit. The Bushiribana gold mill. That's the one that looks like a castle heading to the old ex-natural bridge. Remember that one? And yeah, that's the one that most people talk about, right? Oh, look at this guy. So beautiful. When they're a certain color, they look even nicer than the what do you call it? Than the let's try to go here. They look even nicer than iguanas, I think. It's so blue, so nice. And so, as you can see, you know, this has been abandoned from the start of the 1900s. I don't recall the year exactly, but I do believe it was around 1907, 1908, something like that. And I also read that it also had to do with the First World War, that they stopped doing this, and then after the war, you know, they tried to restart it, and it didn't happen anymore. So it wasn't a thing anymore, and maybe less and less gold was being found. But all around this area, like if you go hiking around like this area and much of Aruba, you can find some small golds, so where they were digging for them. And yeah, so incredibly interesting. I really wish they could still, like, I do hope that one day it will get restored. I think it certainly deserves to be. And as I said, maybe it's part of somewhat of a controversial story, and that's why probably some would prefer for it to just continue to decay and not be a thing. But it is protected by the Monuments Foundation. So as you can see, that's more or less what it is today. Let me see if I can get back into, should I go back? Permit me to head just a little bit back so I can go into more of a shady place. And not that it's shady, but you know what I mean, an actual shade where I can show you some photos. So this one was the project that they were thinking about. And for example, this one is in Oranjestad. This is not here, but it was the head office. And so this is a photo taken, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but it is a photo taken, I believe in the 1980s or so. So you can see it was a little bit better back then. And this is and was taken here. So that's the big wheel. That's the one that we saw, I told you about just a moment ago. That's where the big wheel was. And this is an aerial. So this is the big building, and as you can see up there, there was not much. And this one was taken in, I think, 1970s or so, 60s maybe even, where you can see these that we just walked past were still good. And as you can see also, the paths were not constructed, so that was part of the 1980s project. And here we have an example of the workers in like a mine. We also had like, not a train, but some rails that, you know, like could take the material from here to Oranjestad and other places, and also from the hills nearby, and bring them here. So that's where it was, the one in Oranjestad. Here are some names of the owners, that the folks that put the money into it to do it, and some more workers. A lot of workers did get injured, did even die, and yeah, that was a thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Now these are the pieces of gold, some of them of course, that were shipped out. More of the factory, and also how they used to go into the you know, the how do you call it, the mine. And this one apparently was from the Mira La Mar, which is near the entrance of, so this one, we're near the entrance of the Parque Arikok. And this is the Bushiribana. This is the one that probably most of you have seen or been to. And some more photos. Now this one, let's see. So this one is going through the Franse Pas, and I'm not entirely sure about it, but this one is the doctor that used to come here and help out the injured workers, and with the dynamite and everything, it was like a serious thing. Oh, I have another photo here. So that was the last one. So the doctor was coming here a lot, but back then there was just like one doctor. So I'm talking about the official, how do you call it? The official years that they were extracting, that the permits were given to do all of this, was from the 1870s to the early 1900s. I'm gonna try to get up here. There's not much to see really, but more of this. Now how I'm gonna get back down with the camera in my hands. Oh boy. Now, interesting to note that doctor was, so sorry about that, the camera overheated as I was talking about that last part. So the doctor, about the doctor, it was the only doctor on the island, and his name was Dr. Horacio Audibert. Audibert is also my last name, and Dr. Horacio Audibert is the name of the hospital, so the main hospital, or the only hospital really on the island mostly. And he was, by coincidence, he was my great grandfather. So he was the first like Aruban doctor or local doctor. Before him there were maybe a few, but they were probably not locals, and that's the reason why the hospital was named after him. And my father's name is also Horacio Audibert, or Aduber, as most will say in how do you call it in English, Aduber. And recently when I was in France, so they pronounced that last name, and nobody really knows entirely for sure where it came from, but they pronounced it perfectly in France, Audibert, and I was like, wow, okay, this last name might just be from France. But it is also said that maybe it was Audibert, and well, I'm heading into stories that maybe are not related to all of this, but yeah, that's so you know a little bit more about me. And so I am, in case you do see the hospital, I am very closely related to the first doctor of Aruba. So I'm proud to say that, and I haven't mentioned it. I believe I haven't in my videos in the past, and I think most of you don't even probably know my last name. But yeah, that's my last name. So we are approaching mostly the end of this very interesting walk. But I did want to show you some more things, which is this one. I do have a hike here a long time ago, but I'm going to put it at the end of the video. Maybe you are interested in looking at that one, you know. Since we are here, probably want to look at more things of this area. And it's a very interesting area. It's called Balashi, and it does continue to where more or less we're heading to the Mangalhalto beach. And this is where the Spans Lagoon, the Spanish lagoon, starts, pretty much. I can see like a bird back there. I don't know if you guys can see it, way back there. And turning back, we can also still see the gold mill. And again, this is part now of the, what do you call it, the guys, can you hear that? Some more interesting birds. They're probably saying, there are people coming! There's someone coming over there! Get out! So it is a bird sanctuary also, and it is more and more protected now than it used to be. Like in the past, we didn't protect all of our nature areas, but the last couple of decades, the island has done a very aggressive move towards protecting these areas, because we have been doing so much construction over the last 35 years or so after the status aparte, a little bit over, maybe close to more like 40 years ago. And that's so windy, man. That's a little bit too windy. And so yeah, we've been trying to protect more and more of these areas, of course, and they are definitely very beautiful. And it is a great area to hike, especially the one I just mentioned briefly. So guys, without anything else to add to this one, I hope you liked this video. I really enjoyed making this one for you guys, and I've been meaning to do something like that here. By the way, there are a lot of birds over there. So I've been meaning to do this one for you guys, and yeah, everything is like time. So when you are when I do my planning for my videos, sometimes things don't always go the way I plan them. So at the last moment I got something else to do, or I don't have enough hours or things like that. So that's why my schedule sometimes keeps changing, but I do, and I try to commit at least one video a week, and I do hope that you are appreciating that and that you are enjoying that. Anyway, I'm talking a little bit too much today. Nothing further. See you next week, guys. You thought I was gonna do this one. No, see you next week, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. And remember, I'll put the videos somewhere over here, like either here or here. So check them out, check the hike, and I'll put one more. I usually put 2 videos at the end, so you can click, I think, videos that you should be watching next if you haven't already watched them. And if you haven't, subscribe. What are you doing till the end of the video without subscribing? No way, right? Another fly going. Bye-bye, guys. You're still here? Really? I'm walking back to my car. Yes, I do most of the time walk back to my car. But don't worry, I think of it as exercise. It gets me out of my house, out of my chair, out of my desk. And I love being out here.